Thomas and Timothy. The engines sat in their sheds one morning as their crews walked around them preparing them for the day's hard work. To pass the time, Gordon was, as usual, boasting about himself and the others.
My brothers and I are all powerful express engines, he gloated, always ready to fly down the line with our passengers.
The other engines rolled their eyes, but Thomas was intrigued.
Do you have many brothers, Gordon?
Oh yes, and many cousins too. They're all big and important like me.
I had brothers too.
Oh really? Said Gordon. You always seem one of a kind to me. Always so annoying.
Edward shushed the big engine.
Go on, Thomas. Edward smiled.
Well, I had 9 to be exact, but they're all gone now.
What happened to them? Asked Edward.
Retired or put out of service, I'm afraid. But most of them have been scrapped by now.
Oh my, explained Henry. We are so sorry, Thomas. We didn't know.
We've all had brothers sent for scrap, Edward added. It's a horrifying thing to think about. But none of us were very close to our brothers, but it seemed like you were, Thomas.
The engines were sad to see that Thomas was becoming very emotional. Even Gordon. They all felt sorry for Thomas.
I loved my brothers, especially Timothy.
Timothy? Asked Henry.
He was my oldest brother and best friend. It would take a while to explain.
Tell us, Thomas. It'll make you feel better, Percy said. Yes, said James. We got plenty of time until our first trains.
And so Thomas began his story.
My brothers and I were built many years ago near the south coast of England. Timothy was the first built, and I was in the middle. The 10 of us were all very close, working in and around the marshalling yards and docks. Timothy, being the eldest, looked after all of us and was something of a father figure, especially to me, being one of the youngest.
That's wonderful, Thomas, Edward remarked. The other engines agreed.
Yes, Timothy was a wonderful brother. One day, one of the bigger engines was making fun of me after I foolishly derailed the truck without waiting for the points to be changed. Timothy was furious and went buffer to buffer with the big engine, telling him how awful he was to be making fun of smaller engines.
Without engines like Thomas, you might not ever have coal for your tender and water for your tanks, he said.
The big engine got the message and left me alone after that. Timothy was very persuasive.
Sounds like we could have used him around here, Percy chuckled, motioning to Gordon.
He and I spent many nights talking about, well, everything. From coaches to the stars in the sky, Timothy always took time to talk to me. No question was ever too stupid, and he always had a word of advice for me.
Remind me a lot of myself when I was your age. Always ready for anything. But don't be afraid to be yourself, Thomas, and always take opportunities when they present them to you.
One day, my crew and I were informed I had been bought by a faraway railway. It turned out later that this had been from some top-hat hat. I didn't want to leave England, but Timothy reassured me and said,
You're growing up to be a fine tank engine. It's time for you to go off on your own and show them what us E2s can do.
Thomas paused. He found it hard to speak, thinking about how bittersweet his department was. The engines were respectfully silent as Thomas gathered his strength to continue again.
I arrived to the island of Sodor, and my driver and fireman found that they really liked the people here, and both were soon married. I began to enjoy my new home too, but always felt guilty for leaving Timothy, even though I knew it was for the best. But I never heard from Timothy again. No matter how many letters my driver sent, we never got a reply.
Maybe he was too busy, he suggested.
I wish that were true. One day we did get a letter, but it wasn't from Timothy. It was from my other brothers. said that Timothy had plunged off of a new viaduct they were constructing near the harbour. His brakes had failed, and he couldn't stop at the station. Thankfully, there hadn't been any passengers on the train, and his shrouded fireman had jumped clear. But Timothy didn't make it, and I was here on Soto. Oh, how I wish I could have spoken to him one last time.
The Indians didn't know what to say. They had no idea that Thomas had been suffering for so many years with the knowledge of his brother's demise. But it was apparent that Gordon's boasting about his brothers, some of whom were still healthy and running well, had been in poor taste. Late afternoon, Gordon approached Thomas, who was sitting in the station with Annie and Clarabelle.
I hope you'll forgive me for boasting about my brothers this morning. I didn't know it was such a sensitive area for you.
That's okay, Gordon. Timothy was taken from me so suddenly and for many years. I didn't know what to do. But Timothy was right about one thing.
What's that? Asked Gordon.
He was right when he said that I should take opportunities when they are presented to me. Though I left him in England, I will never regret coming here and meeting all of you.
And we're glad to have you here too. We will always look out for you.
Thomas simply beamed, though he didn't have his big brother anymore. He had a lot of peace in knowing that he had a family here on Soto too.